Hello, my name is David Morgan. I'm the city manager of Georgetown, Texas, and I appreciate you tuning into this video to learn more about what we're doing in our Georgetown water utility. I plan to cover several things today. I want to talk about the current state of our water supply contracts and projects that we have to be able to anticipate future growth. Talk about the benefits and impact to customers, and then really specifically talk about water this summer and where we currently are with our water restrictions and the best things you can do to keep us in a stable position. So I don't think it's new to anyone to talk about water being a limited resource and how critical it is to make sure that we have safe, reliable water, and primarily drinking water. That is our primary focus, making sure that the integrity of our system is such that we have high quality water that's available for drinking water on a consistent basis. And so it drives our economy, it drives just our daily life. And so this is a very important topic. It's important for you to know more about it. We do have a pretty unique water utility in that our city limits, Georgetown city limits are 60 square miles, but our water utility is 400 square miles. It reaches north into Bell County. It goes west into a small portion of Burnett County, and it goes west towards Liberty Hill, all the way to Liberty Hill High School, just west of Liberty Hill. And so what's unique, though, is that 40%, while we have a very large water utility, 40% of our customers live outside the city limits. And our customers, we currently have just under 75,000 customers, but that represents about 170,000 people, so larger than our city limits. And we recognize that we serve a lot of area outside the city limits. It's important for us to connect with all of our customers. We do anticipate that over the next several years that we will continue to have fast growth. We've actually doubled the number of customers in our water utility over the last 10 years, and we're anticipating of the next 20 years to add 5,000 new customers per year. One of the common questions we get is, well, maybe we shouldn't add that many customers. Maybe we should stop growing. And we are doing our best to manage growth as well as we can, but frankly, we don't have the ability. We don't legally cannot stop growth, and we have to, if we have adequate supply of water, we have to serve customers who are coming. We're following state law with that, and there's very limited limitations. It's great to be in a property rights state, but there's certain considerations when you have to and limitations when managing growth. Happy to share more about that. There's more information we have on our website about that. But that's just the reality we find ourselves in. Why it's so important that we have to just predict and manage growth and do our best to maintain services at high level as possible through this significant growth period of time. Now, during this presentation, I'm going to provide some kind of terminology that you may not have heard before. One of the terminologies that I'll use is MGDs, million gallons per day. That's the way in which we measure the amount of water that we have on hand, the amount of water that we treat and produce every day for people to use, for residents to use, customers to use, as well as how we plan for future and acquiring future water. Just to give you a sense of how much does 1 million gallons per day serve, how many homes does it serve? It serves a little over 2,200 households. So imagine, kind of a million gallon size jugs, and at the flow rate of 1 million gallons, those jugs would be filled in a single day is a way to think about 1 million gallons per day. Now, an average household or average American uses 176 gallons per day. So that's used for things like laundry, your dishwasher, taking a shower, but the primary usage or largest volume of usage is in irrigation. So if you look at just 1 hour of irrigation, you're using 900 gallons just during that 1 hour. So where does our water supply come from? Primarily it's surface water. We get 41 million gallons a day, so almost over 85% of our water comes from surface water through the Brazos River Authority. That comes from Lake Belton, Lake Georgetown, Lake Stillhouse, and Stillhouse Hollow Lake. We also have 1 million gallons per day, so 2% of our water supply is also surface water from Lake Travis. And then about 12.5% of our water comes from groundwater, which is the Edwards Aquifer. And that's 6 million gallons a day. Those resources are maxed out. There's not the ability to get additional surface water, and there's not the ability to get additional groundwater through the Edwards Aquifer. And so I think what's important for you to know right now is that a very significant portion comes from surface water. And as we've seen over the last several years, thankfully, we've got some water this spring, but we've seen that is susceptible to drought given weather patterns. And so part of what we want to do in planning for the future is look at ways in which we can make sure our water system is more resilient. So one of the things that we hear a lot is that the Georgetown water utility is running out of water, and that is not true. We do anticipate, based on growth, that we'll need to secure additional resources by 2030, but we don't have resources that are going away, the water that's going to go away, to mean that we'll run out, we won't have any water in the future. It just means that at our growth rate that we anticipate, that we'll need to be looking for additional resources, and I look forward to talking with you about how we're doing that. The other thing, though, is that in all of our planning efforts, it's really important to look at not only making sure we're adding additional water, making sure that that water is diverse so that we can be more resilient. It's also important to look at water conservation. In fact, if you look at the state overall, there's a significant deficit in the state water plan showing not being able to have enough water based on population growth that we anticipate occurring. So the things that we're talking about today related to water and water planning for our Georgetown water utility is something that that really all entities across the state are looking at as well. If you look at where we're planning to get our water in the future, we took what's called integrated resource plan. It's basically a way for us to look over the next 50 years and look at the additional amount of water that we need as we grow, and how are we going to fill, how are we going to get those sources? What are we going to do to have enough water by 2050 or 2070, excuse me, looking at 50 years out. So we've identified that we need to look for additional groundwater resources. We've also looked at other different types of solutions that you'll be able to see on this slide that talk about looking at other aquifers to be able to get additional groundwater. We also want to look at reclaimed water, so basically taking our treated wastewater, treating it to a level of potable water where you can drink it and put it back into our supply, and looking at aquifer storage, reservoir and recovery, which allows us to take treated water, put it in the ground, and pull it out later when we need it. These are not groundbreaking solutions. These are tried and true solutions that are being used in other parts of the state, other parts of the country, and something that we'll be looking at as we move forward. The biggest thing we're working on right now, though, and we'll talk more about it in detail, is looking at adding groundwater through the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer. And we have an initial agreement that we've signed with EPCOR, which will provide water for us. Now, in looking at these additional sources, I think one of the things that we have to recognize is that these sources of additional water are all going to be more expensive than what current surface water is today. In fact, there's not any solution that is cheaper or is as low cost as what our water costs are today. And so that is why it's so important for us to be really judicious about how we bring these resources on, as well as really judicious about how every customer utilizes water, because it's going to continue to get more expensive as we have rising cost of infrastructure and just rising cost of bringing these resources on board and paying for these resources on an ongoing basis. So I mentioned that we're working with an entity called EPCOR to secure additional water. And we have signed a reservation agreement reserving water to get us up to a little over 62 million gallons a day from the Carrizo-Wilcox Aquifer. On the slide that we're showing, you're going to be able to see where that aquifer is. You'll see then Williamson County and highlighted there. So what our plan is to take water from Robertson County and through a pipeline, so through wells working with EPCOR, have that water delivered ultimately to Georgetown to be used for the Georgetown water utility system. We anticipate, while the map we're showing you right now shows some alignment, this is not an exact location. This is kind of a broad look at how we're going to be delivering that. Our plan is to have it delivered to the Granger, to Lake Granger, where we have some ability to partner with BRA on some additional resources. And then we'll have a distribution line that'll come to the northern side of Georgetown that we'll then be able to use in our entire water territory. Also, I think it's important to note that in addition to looking at new resources, we're also have a very aggressive infrastructure plan to build more water treatment capacity. if you look at our 10-year outlook over our water treatment plan, we are going to double our water treatment capacity through the expansion of the North Lake Treatment Plant, but also the construction of the South Lake Treatment Plant, which is the largest capital expenditure that we've had to date in our water utility. It's costing over $225 million, but it's going to bring over ability to treat over 44 million gallons a day. And that primarily will serve the western portion of our water utility. We plan for the first phase of that to come online in summer of 2025. So not this summer, but next summer. And then the final phase to come online in 2026. And that's when we anticipate that we'll have double a water treatment capacity. Why is it so important to focus on treatment capacity? Because because the capacity, it basically shows you, or is how we are able to manage the high volume of water demand that occurs over the summer months. So in the winter months, we don't use a lot of water, but in the summer months, we use a significant amount of water. And that's going on our yards, through irrigation. And so what we're experiencing is we're experiencing such a high demand that we're not able to keep up with that demand, which I'll talk further in a few slides about why we have stage 2 water restrictions in place. But that ultimately is the reason for that. But, as we look at our outlook, we're planning for over $2 billion worth of infrastructure. And currently right now, we have just under half a billion dollars, just under $500 million worth of infrastructure going in the ground right now to build out the capacity of our water system. 86% of that is focused west of the city. It's focused in the western portion of our water district. And the reason for that is based on hypergrowth, as well as based on the history of the water utility, where we merged with the Chisholm Trail Water District, which is a rural water district that did not have a lot of infrastructure. And so we are focusing a large majority of our efforts on strengthening and building infrastructure in the western portion of the water utility. So what to expect kind of moving forward? One of the things you'll expect us to do is to continue to add more capacity, continue to add more lines so that our water system can be more resilient, and that we can work through the really peak times in the summer. We have the largest demand. What you also can anticipate is we will continue to look at rates in order to recover the cost of all these expenses. And so we did a rate change in April and really that focus of that rate change was focused on the groundwater reservation agreement that we did with EPCOR and the significant costs associated with securing that water that will be delivered to us by 2030. These new water sources are more expensive. We do anticipate that we'll have a number of years continue to have water increases, and we anticipate another water increase to occur in October. But just know that we are sensitive to rates. We understand how it impacts everyone's pocketbook. And this chart here shows you where kind of our rate structure is and what the rates are for water and wastewater expenses for 10,000 gallons per month, which is kind of average usage. And you can see here where we are. It's when you combine water and wastewater, the bill is a little over $116 per month. And that puts us in a very competitive position looking at these other cities. But just know that we're going to continue to look at these rates. Obviously, we have to put the infrastructure in to handle growth. That is going to impact rates. Then we're going to do our best to manage those increases as well as we can to continue to be competitive from a rate standpoint. One of the common questions we get is, are we going to be in water restrictions this summer? Are we going to go to no outdoor watering like we did last summer for portions of our water utility? And the answer on that is, first, yes, we're going to stay in stage 2 water restrictions throughout this summer, which means we will be in once-a-week watering for our entire water utility. We are working very hard to make sure that we don't have to go into no outdoor watering water restrictions over this summer. And we're doing that in several different ways. First and foremost, we have completed some of the expansions of our plants, and our plants are back online. That adds more capacity. We're purchasing additional water from other entities such as Groundwater. And then we're also working on infrastructure to allow us to push water into the western portion of our water utility because the primary treatment right now is the eastern portion of our water utility. And based on the elevation pressure planes, it doesn't naturally flow into the western portion. And so we've bought additional temporary pumps during peak demand times. We can actually push water into those higher pressure planes to try and make sure that we have more resiliency in those areas. So those are all things we're doing to stay in stage 2 water restrictions, to stay in once a week watering. So what can you do to help as we work through this process and work through the summer as well as over the next few years? One is the biggest thing is to follow your water schedule. It is really critical to water on your watering day because if everyone watered in one neighborhood all the same time, the amount of demand that it would cause on our system would actually lower pressure to a level that could be so critical that we would have to do boil water gnosis. So it's so important for you to stay on your water day. The other thing is if you're looking to plant new material, whether it be different types of vegetation, plant native. We have a lot of information on our website. There's a lot of information out there on the web on native plants for this area. Make sure that you're checking your controllers, your irrigation controller, making sure that it's being used judiciously and on the right time, as well as we do water rebates. We have a lot of water rebates. One of our most popular one is to give a rebate for a licensed irrigator to come out and to check your system just to make sure it's working right. Make sure the heads are spraying in the right direction so they're not spraying in the street or spraying on the sidewalk. And then the last thing you can do is you can sign up for our Super Water Saver and receive emails and tips and tricks on a regular basis. So get regular communication from us, sign through our email distribution list. You can go on our website and get that done. We'd appreciate that so you can stay informed about things that are happening within our water utility, within your water utility. So here's the watering schedule. You can see here, my last digit of my address is 1, so my watering day is on Tuesday. And you can see here when yours is. If you see that there's no watering on Monday, there's a strong reason for that. The reason for that is because we need a day for our system to rest in order for all of our tanks and our reserves to fill up. Throughout the week during high peak demand, those reserves get lower and lower and lower on a daily basis. And we need a very low usage on Monday in order to be able to fully replenish all of our reserves. Also, just a reminder that no watering is allowed between 7 a.m. And 7 p.m. The reason for that is because we don't want to make sure that evaporation takes hold and takes away from getting all of that water into your yard where it's supposed to be. That is all we have for this presentation. We have a lot more information on our website. We appreciate you tuning in. We have a frequently asked questions page, and then we also have ways in which you get a hold of us and ask additional questions. We're happy to engage with you to answer the questions that you have. And I really appreciate you tuning into this video. It's going to take all of our efforts, all of our best efforts to make sure that we have a healthy supply of water to be able to manage our system today as well as for the future. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and we'll continue to keep you updated as things progress. Thank you very much.